Hey everybody, how you doing? This is True Powers Mine, and this is TPIM SR Live. Let me try to get this a little bit in focus. There, that's somewhat better. Hold on to your coattails today, boys and girls. And speaking of which, today is May 7th, 2019, the year of our Lord. Okay, we're going to go in hard today. We're going to talk about why is atheism destroying, ravishing, particularly just the Christian church. Let's start the show. And it is being filmed in front of the live studio audience today. So, yeah, it's going to be one of those loud, crazy shows, guys. Loud and crazy. But I already got this keyed up. I want to start off, interesting enough. No, actually, you know what? I want to save this for the end. Let's go right into the meat of the matter. And I want to remind you all, new-time listeners, welcome to the show. Old-time listeners, I just want to show you guys how all these are basically straw men playing at each other. They all have the same play. And it's to get you out of your spirituality. I'm just being real. So let's go to the real video. Let's make it a little bigger. Hold on. That should be perfect. Now, without further ado, let's break this shit on down.
No document in world history so changed the world for the better as did the Ten Commandments.
The Ten Commandments weren't historical, they're mythical because they never existed. And neither did Moses, and neither does God.
Okay, now this guy right here is the atheist. You can tell by his look or whatever. I'm trying to get this better for you guys. I don't know why it's so doggone blurry. But the deal is, you got to understand, he's not going to do nothing to help you. He's not going to do nothing to unite humanity. Because all of his basis is based upon what he sees, what he tastes, what he touched. And don't forget, in this system of supremacy that we're under, he's never going to feel our pain. He's never going to understand where we're coming from. And he's only going to use us later on in this presentation as a footnote. Hold on, let's continue.
None of that is evidently real. Even rabbinical scholars now admit a consensus among archaeologists that the Exodus never happened, because the Hebrews were never enslaved in Egypt the way the Bible describes. Moses' childhood river arc was taken from the saga of Sargon, and the parting of the Red Sea was adapted from the legend of an Egyptian pharaoh from an earlier millennia. Belief in the Ten Commandments never changed anything for the better either. Most of the believers professing to promote them can't even recite them and never knew what they meant.
Western civilization, the civilization that developed universal human rights, created women's equality, ended slavery.
Oh, I'm not going to let that one slide. Ended slavery, and before the ink drive started Jim Crow and legal discrimination. But let's continue. Hold on, baby.
Created parliamentary democracy, among other unique achievements, would not have developed without them.
If that were true, then all this progress would have come about thousands of years ago and not just in the last century or so. But each of the advances you cited were made only recently, after the Enlightenment and in spite of the commandments. Because those commandments are authoritarian, not democratic. They allow special privileges for one race over all others. They permit and endorse.
And hold on, before, see how I love how when they're doing these little arguments amongst themselves, they just scoot over stuff. It allows for the Hebrew Israelites. They are this master race. They are the chosen people in the Bible. Yes, that's what it is. But he won't say that like that. Let's continue. Hey, Brother Derek, welcome to the show. Glad the Most High woke you up today and got you logged in here.
Slavery, and they treat women as property. So for these unique achievements to have occurred at all, the commandments would have to be ignored or discarded first.
As you will see when each of the 10 commandments is explained, these commandments are as relevant today as when they were given over 3,000 years ago.
They weren't given then. That story was made up much later. The commandments you're talking about aren't just a set of 10 either. There are 11 commandments just in Exodus 20, and that list continues through the next 3 chapters, with many being ethno-specific and limited to the regional currency of sheep and shekels. It wasn't even relevant then, and it has no parallel in the American legal system now, especially since we freed the slaves, allowed women their own agency, and defied the commandments by rejecting theocracy, permitting freedom of religion, and prohibiting discrimination on the basis of race, creed, or national heritage.
See, Brother Derek, Brother Anthony, what they're using here is like a straw man tactic. Like Brother Derek just said, it was 613 commandments. But thank God it only takes one belief. The belief that you know to be true unto yourself. Because see, what they're playing around here with is how people are going to be in their eternal state. And you notice how he glassed on, we into slavery, they didn't do shit. It was because people in biomass came out together in unity that was able to get a lot of these things changed. I wish that they would pour the same energy that they do into this little argument into human unity, and let's facilitate a state to where, Brother Derek, you can believe as you believe. Brother Anthony, you can believe as you believe. But when we come together, we understand there's some commonality that these folks don't give a damn about how good we are, Brother Derek. They don't care how pious you are, Brother Anthony. It's because you're not in this particular class of folks. You're not going to get no love. Let's continue.
In fact, they're so relevant that the 10 commandments are all that is necessary to make a good world, a world free of tyranny and cruelty.
Except that back when nearly
Yes, Brother Derek. Weaponized morality. Yes.
everyone in the Western world was ruled by religion.
And once again, this is for us. And for all the new, when he says Western world, he's meaning white-dominated regions of this planet. White meaning the legal term of certain human beings, allegedly better than others. So let's continue.
Touting these commandments, it was a period of unparalleled tyranny and cruelty known as the Dark Ages. It was a time of thought police, when one could be killed simply for not believing what they were told. The first half of your list of 10 only served to promote religion with no benefit to humanity at all. Education, enlightenment, and free inquiry are the key, not the forced conformity by those claiming authority from an imaginary being.
Imagine for...
Stop. How could that education and all that jazz be the key when these so-called educated people went out and we see, you don't have to go to no history book. Look out your window. You can see the consequences of these so-called educated people running certain regions of the world. Hey, baby. Now, like right here where I'm pointing to South America, look at all the turmoils happening down there. But let's continue. I don't want to get off.
For a moment, a world in which there was no murder or theft. In such a world, there would be no...
If that was the case, these United States would not even exist. This place was founded on murder and theft. You think I'm lying? Look at some of the past shows.
Need for armies or police or weapons. Men and women and children could walk anywhere at any time of day or night without any fear of being killed or robbed.
Yet it's not like that in the Old Testament, is it? Even after the part with the Ten Commandments, we still have God's self-appointed prophet ordering his armies of barbaric thieves to pillage villages, killing every man, woman, and child. But ironically, some predominantly atheist countries in the modern world have finally achieved that sort of peaceful society with high education and very low crime. And the greatest threat to that comes from religious fundamentalists.
Imagine.
No, my friend. The greatest threat from that comes from your lack of birthing adequate members to replace you as you die. That's your greatest threat. And you don't want to say that, and I understand why. Self-appointed prophet. I know, these guys kill me.
Further, a world in which no one coveted what belonged to their neighbor. A world in which children honored their mother and father and the family unit thrived. A world in which people obeyed the injunction not to lie. The recipe for a good world is all there in these 10 sublime commandments.
If that were true, then the trends we're seeing would be exactly opposite of what they are. If you were right, then the world would have been less cruel thousands of years ago than it is today, and we wouldn't see all these...
Believe it or not, it was. Prior to all this nonsense as it was going on. In the world that they would never ever speak on either one of these two gentlemen, when the world was black, it was peaceful.
Improvements in our condition coming so late in history or accelerating in recent times.
Hold on, I gotta say this because this is totally true. This comes from Brother Derek. The human heart is deceitful and wicked. Yes. If you do not believe him, if you do not believe that statement is true, look at how many people ran game on you in your life and the consequences of those deceitful utterings, which were lies. Let's continue.
As our world becomes more secular, we would not see the consistent decline in inhuman atrocities that we have, nor the unprecedented rise in humanitarian compassion that continues today.
But now, once again, most of those so-called charitable, benevolent organizations that go into Kemet to rape the children and beat the women and oh, okay. But the thing about it is, those folks are mostly religious folks going into these regions, giving them quote unquote aid or AIDS.
But there is a catch. The 10 Commandments are predicated on the belief that they were given by an authority higher than any man, any king, or any government. That's
what the man, the king, and the government fears. They fear that fire awakening in you, Brother Derek. That fire awakening you, Brother Anthony. That fire awakening you, the chatter, the TV viewer. That's what they fear. Because once that fire is awakened, their bullshit laws, their bullshit... Hey, Brother Leonard, welcome to the show. Their bullshit is consumed in the fire of your truth. Let's continue. Without fear.
That's why the sentence preceding the 10 Commandments asserts the following. God spoke all these words.
Actually, before the Bible ever labels the 10 Commandments for the first time in Exodus 34, it says that Moses was taking dictation, even though God said that he would write that second set himself. The commandments you're referring to are not the set that the Bible calls the 10 Commandments. What you're referring to is actually a much longer list, which was...
And I do want to note, look at the artwork he's showing. Once again, this is a conversation by Edomites for Edomites to consolidate Edomitic power. Across the board. That's why we have to be very careful when we're viewing and discussing these type of topics using this type of informational source. Because once again, Brother Leonard, Brother Derek, Brother Anthony, and all the chatters and TV viewers, most, if not 100% of y'all in the ultimate sum of this particular equation, you're a negative zero, meaning that you don't even exist.
was reportedly destroyed by Moses. Then he went back up the mountain to get the second edition. In the story, God says that the second set would be exactly like the first, but only the first two remain the same. And this time, they stopped at 10. Several of the new editions were not part of the first 10. There is no rule against stealing or murder or
Brother Chris, welcome back to the show. I'm glad the Most High woke you up and you was able to log on and get up in here. Today, we are talking about, and there's another Derek right now. Welcome, my brother. Welcome to the show. I'm glad you can make it. Look at this strong energy presence. We're going to spread some truth and enlightenment today.
perjury in the second set. And the fourth commandment isn't about the Sabbath anymore either. Now it requires that all the firstborn children be killed on the altar as a sacrifice to God. The Bible is pretty specific about that, and it doesn't allow any way out of it.
You see, if the Ten Commandments, as great as they are, were given by any human authority, then any person could say, who is this man Moses? Who is this king or queen? Who is this government to tell me how I should behave?
Who is this God? The God of the Jews? Those who say they're God's chosen people? What are these commandments? The covenant between...
Isn't it funny how he uses this depiction of an ancient Jew? See, they'll go through the motions, but they'll never show you the ocean. They'll never show you the image of a true Semitic Jew. Through this whole little presentation, these little Edomites go back and forth, back and forth. I'm just showing this to you, y'all, because this is why when you start seeing all the churches being burnt and destroyed, what's up? Wow, 999th. Welcome to the show. Glad you can make it. This is why we have to be understanding and true to ourselves. It should not matter who comes up with some sweet sounding whatever. You have to know this for yourself, because without your spiritual power, man, I'm telling you, there is no political power that's going to save you. There's no law that's going to save you. There's no race of people that's going to pop up. Oh, let me help you. The victims in North and South America and the Caribbeans and the damn near the whole planet. Let me help you people. You know, you melanated, kinky-haired folks. Let me help you. There ain't going to be none. We have to use that spirit. We have to use the one thing that they're fearful and scared to death of us, and that is unity. Spiritual and physical to win.
Between God and Israel? And why only Israel? Because neither their God nor their fables were ever intended for the whole of mankind. It is the folklore of one particular tribe of superstitious primitives, and it is meaningless to us here and now, especially since your God never even...
You know, Mr. Edomite, honestly, even when, allegedly, even in your stories, and once again, guys, this is coming from their point of view, it was meaningless to you back then. And, you know, I don't want to go into history, but if you want to get a real sense of history, you might want to check out, he's already passed, but Dr. Abdul Khalid Muhammad. He speaks quite eloquently and to the point directly about the portion of family, the human family, that's doing this debauchery. The shooter of the synagogues in California was hardcore Calvinistic Presbyterian. He also twisted scripture. Yes, we're going to talk about that later on, Brother Derek. They're showing black and Mexicans on Fox News now. Why? Well, they probably want to make sure that keeps up. The brown kills the brown. Hold on. Let's play this.
existed. So these laws were given by men, after all.
Okay, so why is God indispensable to the Ten Commandments? Because, to put it as directly as possible, if it isn't God who declares murder wrong, murder isn't wrong. Yes, this strikes many people today as incomprehensible, even absurd.
Yes, it is absurd. Because even according to your sacred fables, Moses murdered an Egyptian and then looked around to make sure no one saw him before he tried to conceal the body. And the same goes for the myth of Cain and Abel, where Cain lied about killing his brother.
It's written on your hearts. All you have to do is open up your heart and you will know the truth. What they're trying to intellectually quantify human behavior based upon written law, that's a part of the trap to begin with. Let's continue.
Both of these characters obviously already knew that murder was wrong a long time before the story of the Ten Commandments. And this might be because Hammurabi had already established the code of law many centuries earlier than these myths found their way into the Bible. Or it might be that, like most social animals, even superstitious savages understood that you shouldn't kill or maim other members of your own society, unless your religion commands it. One minute God supposedly says, "Thou shalt not kill," and the next minute he orders his own people to kill every man and his brother. Except, of course, for Moses' brother, who really should have been the only one that was killed in that story, but somehow he was spared and promoted to priest instead, saved by nepotism. Then God told them all to kill all their neighbors, every man, woman, and child, including the infants and the unborn. But the fact is that murder is still wrong, regardless what God has to say about it. And there is still no justification when God allegedly commands his prophets to plunder communities and commit genocide.
You know, Brother Chris, on one of the old shows, Mark from Anaheim broke it down for us when concerning the Ten Commandments. If you want to get rich, Brother Chris, don't follow the Ten Commandments. Break every last one of them. Yep. Start fornicating with your neighbor's wife. Start stealing and cheating and lying to people. Oh, yeah. And start killing people. Oh, and the best one, start putting yourself as God before God, and you'll become rich as fuck on this planet. Hey, Brother Murders, welcome to the show. Glad you're here. This is where we're at. This is why everything's twisted into the base. And this is why if you use the information that's been presented to you in the world and not what's written on your heart already, you're going to become confused and, more importantly, debased.
Many of you are thinking, is this guy saying you can't be a good person if you don't believe in God? Let me respond as clearly as possible. I am not saying that. Of course.
But if he followed his true doctrine, he really should be saying that. But because he's twisted, debased, and confused, and filled to the brim, like Sack of Brown, with fear, that's why he's saying these utterance and participating in this Edomite mindfuckery.
There are good people who don't believe in God, just as there are bad people who do.
Notice the silhouette of the good people. You see how this is all playing out? And the red man, or the red devil, which, whatever, I'm not even going to get into it. Let's just continue.
But the good people will still go to hell, no matter how good they are, simply because they don't believe. And bad people can still get into heaven because they believe. I would say that your God is a very poor judge. A just and fair judge would look at our...
And before he starts in with the spill, let's break that down. A good human being persecuted economically, spiritually, and physically, steals a loaf of bread, kills a couple people, sells some dope just to try to make it, and then he dies. But he believes. And then you have the suburban knight given all the benefits of good education, silver spoon in the mouth, all the proper vaccinations that are untainted with poisons and toxins designed to get you farther away from your spirituality, actually. And he dies. He goes to hell. But he was a good person. You know, he the suburb guy, thought, gays were cool and women were cool. And, black people aren't oppressed no more, because they had Barack Obama. But the little brother from the hood who had to scrape and claw and fight and dodge and juke every day, he dies, and he goes to the kingdom because he believed. That's what that's all about.
Our actions, not our beliefs. Thus, it should be that good-hearted.
Hold on. I'm going to let him repeat this, and then I want to break that totally down. Hold on. 1 second.
A very poor judge, a just and fair judge, would look at our actions, not our beliefs.
Wouldn't a fair and just God know that your actions are determined by outside forces? In other words, if I'm in the middle of the ocean, I'm going to have to swim. My action is swimming. If I'm on the desert, I need to find some place shady and sit and chill and avoid the sun until the nightfall. Your actions don't mean spit. Oh, did I say that? Yeah, your actions don't mean shit. It's what you believe. It's what you know to be true in your heart. And then you can find your way through this little madness.
Thus, it should be that good-hearted atheists could be rewarded over dark-hearted believers, but then no God worthy of worship would damn anyone to eternity either. This is just one of many indications that it is not God making these judgments, but rather the people pretending to speak for him. They're using the stick and the carrot to intimidate people into giving them credence and paying them tithe while reinforcing a shared delusion.
And many of you are also thinking, I believe murder is wrong. I don't need God to tell me. Now, that response is only half true. I have no doubt that if you're an atheist and you say that you believe murder is wrong, you believe murder is wrong. But forgive me, you do need God to tell you. We all need God to tell us. You see, even if you figured out murder is wrong on your own, without God and the 10 Commandments, how do you know it's wrong? Not believe it's wrong. I mean, know it's wrong.
Easy. We can tell that murder is wrong because we have objective criteria by which we can determine for certain whether murder is wrong. And we can do that regardless what mood the gods are in that day. There has to be an objectively verifiable reason why something is moral or immoral, or else no one could know whether it is, including God.
Wow. See, when we're dealing with these diluted and polluted minds, we can understand why they go around this whirlpool of filth. Because right now, guys, this is all filth. Because neither one of these gentlemen truly understand or get it. Because both these gentlemen in this Western society are privileged, whether they realize it or not. Same thing is true. If you know the truth and it's truly written into your heart, you're privileged, whether you recognize that or not. These outside forces are just that, outside forces. And the only thing that can conquer the outside force that triggers you, my friend, is the Most High. Let's continue.
The Bible has him changing his mind all the time. Without that criteria, you couldn't know what is moral or immoral either. You just have to trust whatever the people said who pretend to speak for God. But thank you for acknowledging that knowledge is something more substantial than belief, and that mere beliefs might well be wrong.
Welcome, Sister Hunt, to the show, sister. I'm glad you got in here. Yes, we're on fire today. These two Edomites are going back and forth, both deluded, both polluted. One's a straw man, and I guess one's the wolf. And they're trying to get you to see why the 10 Commandments and God in general are wrong.
The fact is, you can't. Because without God, right and wrong are just personal beliefs, personal opinions. I think shoplifting is okay, you don't.
What is it about stealing that makes it something we ought not?
Oh, here comes another Edomite. Now, listen, before this guy gets into his little moist, soft spill, if it's not written in your heart, if you don't intuitively know right from wrong, then you're lost to begin with. I'm sorry, my friends. You're lost to begin with. No one can teach you this because this is given to you by the Most High upon your creation. Sort of like a care package. Here, you're going to earth, and this is what you need to know. Boom, let me put it in your heart so it can't ever get lost. But some people don't have heart. Well, let's just continue.
not do? What do we need to look for in a given act in order to diagnose whether it's something we ought or ought not do? If we don't know how to tell whether a given thing is morally wrong, how can we know that it's morally wrong in the first place? Now, I ask this question of my detractors.
Oh my God! I'm sorry. I'm trying to just let it flow and let this guy speak his bullshit, but I cannot allow that to go. You know the way that you know shit's wrong. All right, it's because you get a certain feeling after you do it, and if you're in tune with yourself, you're like, you know what? I'm not gonna do that no more. In other words, you get up. You're a little baby, say 4 or 5, and you touch that hot ass stove, and you're like, oh shit, that's wrong. I ain't gonna do that no more because you get your little hand burnt. But if you're not in tune with your feelings, you're not in tune with the universal law of behavior, then you're going to keep on touching that stove, expecting to get joy and pleasure from it. And another thing, when we start using the way we feel as justification for everything, because even that needs to be taken in moderation, what if you truly are a sick-ass individual, Sister Hunt, that enjoys cutting up people into little pieces? And that was truly makes you feel happy. By what these Edomites are saying, you are in the right. Let's continue.
Actors as a courtesy. But as far as I'm concerned, you can only decline to answer the question so many times before you forfeit your right to define your terms, at which point I'll be happy to do it for you. Here's what I understand the terms morally right and morally wrong to mean. A particular action or choice is moral or right when it somehow promotes happiness, well-being, or health, or it somehow minimizes unnecessary harm or suffering, or it does both. A particular action or choice is immoral or wrong when it somehow diminishes happiness, well-being, or health, or it somehow causes unnecessary harm or suffering, or again, it does both.
Oh my God, this delusional soul. You can almost see look at the eyes. Hold on. Look at his eyes. Snake, demonic, confused. He'll be better off just coming straight up cross-eyed and say, I like baseball. I like baseball. These evil, wicked people. He's sitting in a house that is founded on oppression and the blood of people who don't look like him. He can sit there in that little wooden chair of his, probably with a dildo attached to the bottom of it going up his backside, espousing this bullshit because he's privileged. And the same people he's going to talk down about or try to belittle because, buckets of words, because you use spirituality, you use the spirit to get you through the grind of every day. You use your prayers, you use your upliftment to get you another day while he's sitting in his bullshit privilege. Then he'll tell you it don't exist. Oh, I'm not privileged. I got to get up and work like everybody else. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I don't want to get into the geopolitical situation. Hold on. Let's just continue.
And notice that nothing about this is subjective or relativistic. The fact that murder causes harm or that saving a life minimizes it is not a...
Okay, let's just do it like this here, Chad, or whoever the fuck you are. What if somebody went back in time and saved Hitler's life? You know, that's saving someone's life, right? Or someone went in time to murder Hitler. That would be... only if you're totally naive, you'd be thinking you're saving life. Because Hitler didn't kill the Jews by himself. Or the black folks, the Rhineland bastards, or the soldiers, the Allied soldiers, by himself. He had a bunch of people who thought like him. He was just a figurehead that you know of. There were more figureheads that you do not know of. This wasn't written on your hearts to say that, you know what, killing people who we think aren't like us is a bad thing. That's why they did it. Point blank.
Personal opinion that's only true for me. Harm, pain, suffering, health, well-being, these are real things. They're not contingent on my mind. I don't have to agree that you're dying for you to actually be dying. Bodies live and they die. Brains experience pain and suffering, and they experience joy and health. This is objectively measurable.
Unless there is a God, all morality is just opinion and belief. And virtually every atheist philosopher has acknowledged this.
As you've already been wrong about virtually everything you've said so far, I figured you're almost certainly wrong about this too, but just to make sure, I inquired of every prominent atheist philosopher I could. The summary consensus among them is that your assertion is asinine nonsense, that you're full of shit and you know it.
Another problem with the view that you don't need God to believe that murder is wrong is a lot of people haven't shared your view. And you don't have to go back very far in history to prove this. In the 20th century, millions of people in communist societies and under Nazism killed about 100 million people. And that doesn't count a single soldier killed in war.
And what about all the black folks that were killed by outright lynchings and then other deals that you don't really even talk about? Malnutrition, being lied on, incarceration. How many millions have died there? But see, this little program here ain't even talk about us. Once again, it says we don't even exist.
So don't get too confident about people's ability to figure out right from wrong without a higher authority. It's all too easy to be swayed by a government or a demagogue or an ideology, or to rationalize that the wrong you're doing isn't really wrong.
From police blotters, where the biggest motive for homicide is not just amoral predation, a mugger killing someone to steal his Rolex. The biggest categories of motives for homicide are moralistic. In the eyes of the perpetrator, of the murderer, it's capital punishment, killing someone who deserves to die because whether it's a spouse who's unfaithful or someone who...
Or a black kid down south that happens to look at a little white girl.
Dissed him in an argument over a parking space or cheated him in a deal. That's why people kill each other for moral reasons.
How come no one ever says white supremacy / racism is a religion? And the most pious members of that said religion goes out and do harm against melanated people? They'll never say that.
That is true at large scales as well. If you were to tally up the largest episodes of bloodletting in human history, most of them would have moralistic motives. The Nazi Holocaust, Pol Pot, Stalin, the Gulag.
American slavery, chattel slavery, because he's not going to say it, but I'm going to say it. And the reason why this Albert Einstein-looking poser is talking this bullshit up there in his suit and tie with that little see-through platform is because of chattel slavery. Let's continue.
Mao, the European wars of religion, the Crusades, all of them were killing people.
And he did, once again, he will not mention the Black Holocaust in North and South in Latin America and throughout the rest of the fucking world. Once again, we don't exist. And the world that he's talking about that's so great, the Western world, was built. It's literally built on the bodies of our dead brothers and sisters from the past, our ancestors. Hey, Sister Tabitha, welcome to the show. I'm glad the Most High woke you up. We need your energy today. Come on, let's finish this.
Or not because they wanted to accumulate vast amounts of money or huge harems.
That's a lie. That's exactly why they did it, because they want to accumulate vast amounts of money and screw every chick they can get their filthy, unwashed, unclean hands upon.
Women, but because they thought they were acting out of a moral cause. Indeed, one of the great trends over the course of history that I think has been responsible for the reductions of violence that I tried to document in the Better Angels of Our Nature is paring down the application of our morality and moral sense, working against some of the inclinations that are built into human nature to moralize authority and conformity and purity, to say really what we should attach our moral sense to, our moral emotions, is simply the maximizing of human flourishing and the minimizing of harm.
And even if you do figure out what is right and wrong, God is...
Bam. Brother Chris, greed. Bam.
Still necessary. People who know the difference between right and wrong do the wrong thing all the time. You know why? Because they can. They can because they think no one is watching. But if you recognize that God is the source of moral law, you believe that he is always watching.
Then why is it that convicted criminals here in the U.S. are overwhelmingly Christian? Statistically, there's a negative correlation between religiosity and what we typically think of as moral behavior. I'm sure most of you have seen the polls estimating the...
Okay, before he starts his little dark-ass bullshit rant about Christianity, I ask you, brothers and sisters, are you truly a Christian if you believe lies in certain ways? Meaning that the truth is there, but it has been added to, thus rendering it essentially a lie. Then exactly what are you really worshiping? That's the question.
Population of convicted felons as overwhelmingly religious, whereas the number of atheists in prison population are always much lower than the percentage amongst free-roaming citizens. It is not possible that a significant number of these majorities were secretly atheists until they were arrested and that they only converted to Christianity after indictment, but defenders of the faith have argued that. The factions of dominant religion typically...
So with that logic, what he just said, we were, led to believe that we just can go out and ask Edomites, hey, are you racist? Are you racist? And depending on whether they say yes or no, we're supposed to conclude that's the way it is. No, look at the results of whatever you're espousing. What is the end goal? If you're sitting up here, hey, let's kill off all this and that, then what would be the end goal of that? That's the question.
Typically have the highest crime rate with special emphasis on hate crimes, that will come up later. Religious people are more likely to condone the murder or torture of prisoners, where non-religious people are more likely to consider that morally wrong. But it gets worse. Am I on the right one? Okay. The most religious countries also have the highest murder rate, and the same is true of the most religious areas within the...
He just said the most religious countries, and I didn't know Louisiana was a country. My bad. Brother Leonard, idiots and ideals is the American land way.
United States. The higher the religiosity of a given populace, the higher the murder rate. Secular nations show the opposite tendencies, where the less religious they are, the more peaceful they tend to be. Here in America,
And isn't it funny, all the secular countries in the world are the countries that 500 years ago were extremely so-called religious. They went out, conquered the rest of the savage world, sent back all the resources, so now that they don't have to worry about shit, God don't exist. Yeah, man, it's not about God, dude. It's about these jewels. It's about that diamonds. It's about that gold. Please. Sister Hunt, Patrick, would you ever consider having your local mascot minister call in and talk about the attack on our freedom of speech and the upcoming genocide? Yes, I can. I will, Sister Hunt. I'll reach out to one of our spiritual leaders, asterisks, more like straw boss or field boss. Oh, just be cool, yeah. But I don't want to get into that. I want to stay focused on this because there's another video I'm going to play after this that really wraps this all together, and you'll see what time we're really living in. But great inspiration there, Sister Hunt, and I will follow up on that.
I always forget I'm not in America. Evangelical Christians have the highest divorce rate. They also have the highest rates of teen pregnancy, which isn't surprising since they think abstinence only is an appropriate way to deal with sex education.
And which isn't surprising that this Edomite wants everyone just to be fucking at whatever age. Abstinence is more than a notion. Abstinence is a symbol of power and control. What? Yeah, that means if you don't fucking fall prey to your sexual urges and you can control that shit, you have fucking power. You have fucking control. But then rape comes its rearing its ugly ass head into that. And that's where someone absolutely takes your control and they do what they got to do. Abstinence is not wrong. Abstinence is power. Real power. You're not going to lay with me. I'm not going to lay with you. Plus, it's not the right thing to do. But when you forsake that, well, that just opens up the door to more shit. Well, now I can murder you. Now I can sell dope to you. Now I can fucking pimp your ass out. Because it don't matter. Neither one of us are in control. We got to get this money. We got to get that outside stimuli, the talismans, the shackles, the doubloons to make it go at this thing we call life. Oh, geez. We're all going to die, folks. Are you going to die with honor? Or are you going to die with shame? Let's continue.
I live in Texas, where the abstinence-only program has earned us the status of being the highest rate of repeat teen pregnancies. But it gets even worse. Fundamentalist Christians have a higher rate of abortions, a testament to their hypocrisy.
No, it's a testament to people acting like they're something that they're really not. Sister Hunt, I'm sitting here, hey, I'm abstinent. But you see me fathering all these illegitimate bastards. Oh, I'm a Christian. But you see me fucking basically using my power in the community to hurt you. You come to me, hey, Brother Patrick or Minister Patrick, I'm having trouble with my bills. And I'm like, oh, well, sister, I'm sorry. All those tithes you've been giving me for 15 years now, I can't help you out now that you're in a time of need. That's the problem. People are too consumed by how much physical wealth that you possess than how much spiritual fortitude. Because as you're spiritually strong, and I know a lot of people who are, you can be 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, blah, 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 all the way into when you finally meet who you need. You can be physically strong enough not to fall prey and bring in life potentially that you don't want. Bring in life potentially that will be abused by someone in your inner circle. Bring in life potentially that will be filled with pain and anger because it doesn't have the resources nor the loving guidance of a real parent or parents to help make it a real human being. Not saying that if you don't have all this, I'm not saying that. But some people need things that they're not getting. And the reason why they're not getting it is because the environment we live in dictates that the people who made them cannot be together.
This is what a colossal failure the policies of the religious right have always been. But it gets even worse than that. Child Protective Services and other agencies report a significant majority of child abusers and molesters identified as very religious, and the more religious they are, the worse offenders they are. Yet.
So, let's just say people who welch out on their debt, people who don't pay their bills. I identify as a good consumer. I identify as someone, I can make my payments, but they can't because they lack the economic means to do that. Are they truly what they say? If I say I'm, a Hindu, but I eat hamburgers, I don't know none of the tenets. Am I really Hindu?
Religious people still argue that the less religious we are, the less moral we are, and that the more we abandon faith, the more violent we become, with the murder rates going up all the time. But that's not what's happening. And it doesn't take much research to see that.
So even if you're an atheist.
Right there. Derek, right there, brother. And I know what you're saying, the mosque. I will get someone from the mosque. I will reach out to them and bring them in. Yes, Sister Hunt, I will. Brother Derek, they are tares sown within the wheat. Yes, the wheat and the tares. Listen, there are things down here on earth. When I say this, I am not being flippant, y'all. There's things down here that looks just like us. You would think that's a human being, but it's really not. Those of you who have soul, those of you who have passion, those of you who have an understanding know exactly what I just said. Not all human beings are what they seem. Not all black folks are what they see either. That's universal law.
Theist. You would want people to live by the moral laws of the Ten Commandments. And even an atheist has to admit that the more people who believe God gave them, and therefore they are not just opinion, the better the world would be.
Everything that guy just says is bullshit.
First of all, God's opinion is still an opinion, and the prophets of God are only expressing their opinions too. They're just claiming more authority than they actually have. Arguments from authority are worthless. You need to have a verifiable reason that can be determined objectively, regardless what anybody has to say about it, including God. Next, I noticed once again.
Wild 90th. What a beautiful question. What are they? I can sit here and give you some bullshit. Wild. I can tell you, oh, they're this and that, blah, blah, blah. But that would be bullshit and lie. All I can tell you, Wild, is they're not of you. They're not of us. To that extent, they could be whatever the fuck. And to that extent, you should understand when you're dealing with these folks, since they are not really of you, you better understand when they do twisted moves and they do shit that are sideways by your perspective, that's because you're coming from the wrong perspective, my friend. You're coming from a perspective of what you believe, and it's not in sync with what they believe. Let's continue.
Again, a recurrent theme wherein believers admit that whether we believe something somehow matters more than whether it is actually true, where the facts of the matter are somehow irrelevant, as if we're expected to believe things not because they're evidently or probably true, but because of some estimated consequence of disbelief. That may be the psychology of faith, but not of rational people. Having actually read all of the commandments listed from Exodus 20 through Exodus 34 and many of the other commandments strewn about the Old Testament, it is obvious that anyone who uses them as a moral guide would be a criminal in every country on this planet. The Bible does not promote morality. It only commands obedience to an amoral, oppressive, and unjustly enforced belief system. So I would rather people know the truth.
In 3,000 years, no one has ever come up with a better system than the God-based Ten Commandments for making a better world, and no one ever will.
The story of the Ten Commandments is clearly based on the earlier story of the Law Code of Hammurabi, which was a better list, and actually existed in real history centuries before the legends now attributed to Moses. Since then, people have come up with better documents, like the Magna Carta and the
I don't know who the white guy is.
The U.S. Constitution. These are better, largely because...
Did he just say the U.S. Constitution is better? Hold on. Let's replay that. Let's replay this. And then I want to break it down. Hold on. Check it out.
To Moses. Since then, people have come up with better documents, like the Magna Carta and the U.S. Constitution.
Bam! Who the fuck the U.S. Constitution in its original form was better for? The black man out there in the fucking cotton field? Or the Edomite in the office? See how I'm saying? See how the play is? This dude here is trying to pander to the patriots. He's trying to pander to people and get them out of the spirit of it, because the Constitution, as he said, well, the bill writes, we the people in a old God, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, we got to stop with the past bullshit. All these two Edomites are doing is going back and forth about, oh, the past this, past that. They ensure that their present power remains intact.
These are better, largely because they stand against what your commandments represent, giving power to the people instead of indomitable despots.
I'm Dennis Prager.
Yeah, that is Dennis Prager. Derek. Yep, that's him.
And I'm Aaron Raw. Prager's video was supposed to be an introduction to his explanation of the Ten Commandments, but he doesn't even know what they are. So I offer my own explanation of both sets of them, and you're welcome to follow along in your Bibles to make sure I got it right.
Bam! Now, y'all. Let's go. Oh, no, I don't want to go there. Let's go here. Come on, y'all. Come with me.
From my tribe of atheists ever thanked you for giving us a shout out at your first inaugural.
And who do you think he's talking to?
But you did mention non-believers.
That's right.
I think it was
More than once.
More than once.
I mean, it's not just in that speech. I've done it often.
Well, we appreciate it. Because.
And look at the disrespect this fucking worm has for the president at that particular time. He talks at him, not as a. It's obvious. I know you guys are going to get it. This is continue.
We do feel like untouchables to a degree. I mean, I don't know if you saw the latest religion survey, but almost a quarter of the country are nuns. I don't mean the ones who hit me on the knuckles with a ruler in Sunday school. I mean, they put none for religion.
None of the above.
Right. But they're not. No, they're atheists, agnostics, or they just don't want to get up on Sunday morning. And we have no representation in Congress. If our numbers were represented, there'd be over 100 Congress people who felt that way. It just seems like we are not included in the basket of diversity in America, which is odd because we are the biggest minority. That is a bigger minority than any other minority you can name.
Did you just hear what Bill Morrow just said, or Morrow, whatever the fuck this worm just said? We're the biggest. In other words, fuck the black people, fuck the Spanish people, fuck everybody else. We are it. What a fucking piece of shit.
And don't you think we should get a little more love?
I guess my question would be whether there is active persecution of atheists. I think that there are certain. Well, I think.
Hold on. I want to say for all the TV viewers that don't see the comments or whatever, Brother Judah. And then they smoked a joint and butt fuck. Yes, that's these two fucks right here.
A candidate, I think you're right, that there are certain
we might be
occupations, probably most prominently politics, where there would be a bias against somebody who's agnostic or atheist in running for office. I think that's still true. Outside of that arena, though, you seem to have done all right with your TV show. I don't get it.
And listen to how Bill Morrow disses him after he says this little pun.
To the extent that they're boycotting you, it's because of your other wacky ideas rather than your particular view on religion.
Whatever their wacky ideas.
I
usually agree with you.
I think the average American, if they go to the workplace, somebody's next to them, they're not poking around trying to figure out what their religious beliefs are. So here's what I would say, that
Bill Morris is looking at him so smug. Like, why am I even talking to this monkey?
I think that we should foster a culture in which people's private religious beliefs, including atheists and agnostics, are respected. And that's the kind of culture that...
Now, how can you respect a person who has no religious beliefs? Atheism is not a religious belief. He's really Bill's boy. Remember, who gave him $1 million in the so-called run. Oh, shit, Brother Leonard. Oh, shit, you're right.
I think allows all of us then to believe what we want. That's freedom of conscience. That's what our Constitution guarantees. Where we get into problems typically is when our personal religious faith or the community of faith that we participate in tips into a sort of fundamentalist extremism in which it's not enough for us to believe what we believe.
Fundamental extremists. That's the attack on our Muslim brothers and sisters. Yeah, you guys are fucking attacking the world trade and blah, blah, blah. I don't feel bad for Obama. He should have shut them down. Well, yes, Sister Hunt, but he is them. He is them. The greatest trick the white supremacists has pulled in this century that we're in now is making people believe that they do not exist. Oh, white supremacy is not real. Don't say that word. It gives it power. Why? I go outside and I fucking, hey, the sun's frying me. Oh, don't say the word sun because it gives us power. I don't have to say it or not say it. I go out in that fucking sun. It's just gonna make me fucking sweat. I go out into this world that hates me because I'm black. It's gonna make me stress. The same fucking deal.
But we start feeling obligated to, hit you over the head because you don't believe the same thing, or to treat you as somebody who's less than I am.
But we might be more pro-science in America if we were less.
Oh, and here it is, yeah. Science. Science. Oh, God, science. Science, please. Science would tell you that black folks are inferior. Why? Because evolution. To evolve means to get better 100% of the time. It's nonsense, y'all. You know what's written on your heart, Sister Hunt. You know the truth.
It's religious, don't you think?
Well,
Yo, birds in the house. Tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin. This popped into my head for some unknown reason. I don't know why.
I think the issues we have with science these days are not restricted to what's happening with respect to religion. There are a lot of very religious scientists around. I think the problem is that in our school systems, and to some degree, and this is where it is relevant, with school boards around the country that are mandating curriculums and textbooks, you start seeing this weird watering down of scientific fact, so that our kids are growing up in an environment, and this connects with what I was
And that, my friends, is the beginning of the vaccine agenda. Science. You vaccinate them kids because science says it's good. Now listen, y'all. Listen to me clearly. Vaccines, when made properly, without additives and purposeful disease placed in them, is beautiful. But the vaccines are given out in districts. Certain districts with high melanization is not getting the same vaccines as non-melanized districts are getting, or nations, or whatever. You got to understand the heart of the person. Sister Hunt, let's say I'm some Billy Bob Thornton hating white man. And I'm like, sister, I'm going to give you a vaccine for HPV because I don't want you getting, your little uterus ripped out because of cancer. But because I hate you, I really don't want you making no babies anyhow. So I'm going to put some juice up in there to ensure that you die. Brother Derek, Second Thessalonians, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first. Yes, and this is what that first part of the show is about, Derek. It's about the falling away. These Edomites put this so-called thing together, and then they're breaking it down. Once again, going into the Zionist plan for the third temple, Armageddon, and the whole play. It's an acting gig. This is a screenplay, a movie. Falling away first. And that the man of sin be revealed, the sons of perdition. 4, who opposes the exaltant themselves above all that is called God. Yes. And this is Sister Hunt. We have drones taking vaccines to remote places in Africa. Why do you think they built that base in Nigeria? That drone base. Vaccines today going back to their Nazi origins, eugenics, pure and simple. You know it. Let's finish this.
About the media, where everything's contested, that nothing is true, because if it's on Facebook, it all looks the same. And if you're reading something from a Nobel Prize winning physicist next to
So Facebook is legitimate. As long as you get your shit on Facebook, Zucker, and if you're not too pro-black or too conscious, you're okay. You know, this is what's so wrong with everything. Let's play it. And listen how the president, and don't forget this man's name, Larry Sinclair. Larry Sinclair and Barack Obama, and then you see what's going on. That's why they get butt fucking smoke a joint. Or maybe in Obama's case, do some crack.
some guy in his underwear, writing in his basement, or his mom's basement. On text, it looks like it's equally plausible. And part of what we have to do a better job of, if our democracies function in a complicated, diverse society like this, is to teach our kids enough critical thinking to be able to sort out what.
Now, how can you sort out if all the information you're getting is debased? Yeah, go ahead and read some of those Victorian era scientific journals, and you see what I'm talking about. And all that shit is the forefather of what's going on now. So if you guys really think science is the way, man, you're just going into chattel slavery 2.0.
What is true and what is false, what is contestable and what is incontestable, and we seem to have trouble with that, and our political system doesn't help.
Yeah, you got that right. It don't help because it was designed not to help, you fool. All right, let's look at the news. Let's jump in here in the news. Now, what the hell? Now we'll see where does all this get us. All right, Bernie Sanders. There would be no reparations given to the blacks, but I'm going to make sure our people, meaning the imitation Jew people, get our reparations for what Hitler did to us. You know, this is what I'm talking about. Face off with China. Trade talks turn tough. Wall Street on edge. Remember the other day, kiddos? Endless rallies. Endless rallies. Before the fall always comes pride. Remember that? Hopefully you guys are somehow recording these shows. The other morning show, special report, TPIM, that's our live. You're recording this shit, so when the internet gets cut off, you can share this information with others still. Because it's going to get cut off, yeah. You won't be hearing no more Mark from Anaheim, Judge Joe, Jane Elliott, True Power's Mine. None of it. And then you get filled with real news. Like Presidential Medal of Freedom. Why the fuck is Tiger Woods getting a Medal of Freedom? Who has he freed with his golf club other than his ex-wife from his promiscuity? He freed her from possibly getting an STD from him. So why does he get a medal again? You know what I'm saying? Oh, Europe measles outbreak infects 34,000. The measles! Oh my God, get those shots. Get them. That's the sports awards from White House. Well, look who's getting it. Ain't Obama getting that's our president, Air Trump. Yes, Derek. All I will say to that comment is yes, brother. But I bring them on so you can see. I try to reach out to Tim Wise. I guess his spirit says, oh, I better not mess around with that TPIM SR Live. You see, we got to understand there's people out there, man, that will game on us, play on us. Hey, yeah, blah, blah, blah. The other reason why they're getting even any press is because they're going against the official narrative. But they're not really there to free you. They're not really there to give you anything of substance. They're only there to say, hey, I acknowledge you. And that's it. Tim Wise ain't trying to give up his fucking privilege. He's a self-admitted white supremacist. Tim Wise admits, you know what? I'm gonna call somebody right now. Hold on. I gotta do something. My phone here is for some reason it's on airplane mode. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. I want to make a phone call real quick. Hold on 1 second. This would be amazing if this can happen. Hello, Dr. Fuller. Hey, yes, sir. I'm sorry. This is Patrick with Special Report again. I've talked to you a couple times in the past, and I tried to reach out through your website to get you to come on the show. I am quite literally doing a live show now, sir. All I ask is just 5 minutes. I got a lot of young people, and all we wanted to do is just hear from you, sir. Is it any way possible? Is it okay that you talk to the audience right now? Thank you, sir. Thank you. Hold on. This is DR.Neely, Junior Fullers, everybody. You still there, Doctor?
Neely Fuller, Jr.
Yes, sir.
Right. Yes, sir.
Will you please tell us about Powernomics and how that can really help us overcome this delusion, Doctor, that we're in this world?
Tell about what now?
About the power of economics, us pulling our economic resources together to make a better life for all of humanity, not just black folks, because if we become economically viable, it helps the world in general.
Well, economics, first of all, everything starts off with a definition, and you want to get everybody on that page. Always get your definition first before you start talking about anybody. So now, in my book, I got 9 areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Now, these are the areas of activity that cover most of the things, if not all, that people are engaged in.
Yes.
What I was saying, one or the other, or a combination of one of those 9 things. So, we start with economics in alphabetical order. What is economics? That's the question. See, that's another thing you want to get young people in the habit of doing, because they come here asking questions. Everybody does. But somewhere along the way, somebody tell young people more than anybody, stop asking too many questions or so many questions. That is never supposed to happen. You're never supposed to stop asking questions, because somebody is supposed to have the answer to every question that's ever asked. And if they don't know the answer, they're supposed to get busy trying to find the answer. Because this is how all progress is made in the entire questions and answers. Otherwise, you're not going to get anything done at all. Everything is about questions and answers. A scientist in a laboratory, questions and answers. A teacher in a classroom, questions and answers. A person on his or her way to jail in a courtroom, or on his or her way away from a jail in a courtroom. Questions and answers.
Yes.
That's it. That's the key. And that applies to economics too. Starting with, first question, what is economics? According to what I have written, economics is the use of time and energy.
Yes.
It's not just about money. Money is a tool of economics. A tool of economics. And what is economics? Use of your time and use of your energy. So money is a tool that you use that's connected with how you use your time and how you use your energy. When you go on a job, the person says, I'm going to pay you by what? By the hour.
Right.
That's time. And I'm going to pay you by the hour for doing what? Using what? Energy. What is energy? It's just, your muscles, your brain, particularly your brain,
Yes.
and your brain and your muscles and the rest of your body. Your brain is a part of the body. They're supposed to be working together. Working together doing what? Anything that is constructive.
Yes.
That's the key.
Yes.
That one word.
Constructive.
Because in the known universe is not but two basic types of activity. Constructive activity and non-constructive activity. And among black people, in a system of white supremacy, too many white people, not all, they want black people to do anything or be engaged in anything full time except when they're just working for white people to take care of what white people want done for them.
Right.
But when any black person is doing anything on his or her own, it's supposed to be for what purpose? Something very non-constructive.
Right.
That's why we call black neighborhoods, a mess.
Right.
Which they are.
But they're not even.
Why? Because we are trained to always look for doing something that's going to be destructive. The way we talk to each other all day long, pushing and shoving about every little thing, cursing each other out, writing graffiti all over the walls and whatnot. Anything that's non-constructive is supposed to be associated with somebody black.
And it is.
Now, white people do all kinds of things that are non-constructive too. All right? Drugs, guns, all of that. Yes, but at the same time, they make sure that they have control of black people, and they teach us all of the garbage things that they do.
Yes. Yes, because there was an old boy on the plantation.
Okay, all right. Tell the young. How old are these people I'm talking to right now?
We're talking to age range typically from 18 to 27.
Oh man, hey, that's prime time. And what I'm saying is something that they should already know. I should be preaching to the choir. They should know all of this. About that game. See, Malcolm X is correct. We've been bamboozled.
Yes.
Shook up, run amok, run crazy. All right, and we don't even know how crazy we are. But if we stand back and think about it, just think about it. Just look around. If wherever you find black people, your instinct at a basic level, you'll say, well, I'm at home and I feel kind of relaxed around black people, but at the same time, Why is everything so messed up?
Yes. Why? Why, doctor? Why is it? Why?
Everywhere I go, I don't care what town it is or what side of town it is, if there's a whole bunch of black people, it's a whole bunch of things that are messed up.
Yes.
Got to be a reason.
There has to be. It's not natural.
Better believe it ain't natural. That's a well laid out plan, and we go for that okie doke big time. And not only that, we go for it like we invented it.
Right. Oh. Is that because we are just deluded in our minds?
You better believe it. The answer is yes. Delusion means somebody dumps a whole bunch of garbage in your mind and you learn to love it.
Yes. You know, I wish. I was born in 1972. I wish I would have heard some of your work in 1975, 1977, 1978.
I wish that I had heard it at the day that I was born in 1929.
Wow.
Nobody was telling me nothing. This has not changed. That's why nothing has changed for black people.
Yes.
We keep doing the same stupid stuff generation after generation. You hear older people like you hear a lot of older people like myself criticizing young people nowadays. What we older people ain't telling the truth about is that we had a head full of garbage years ago before they were born. That's how it was passed on. All the bad habits were passed on by us. Okay?
Yes.
So younger black people have to say, hey, I ain't doing what the old folks used to do. They used to do some good things. They used to do a lot of good things, which was true. But they used to do a whole lot of stupid stuff. And they ain't going to buy into that stupid stuff. Stupid stuff is stupid stuff for anybody.
Wow. You know,
all right? Stupid is stupid. It applies to white, black, everybody. A squirrel understands what's stupid and what ain't.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Yeah, if you just watch a squirrel ain't going to, knowing they're doing anything that ain't going to work for a squirrel.
Right. In fact, if you look at a squirrel,
a squirrel would look at people and look at cars passing by and all like that and say, those people are going out there, and that car's coming, he's walking along, looking at his cell phone like it ain't coming. And the squirrel will say, I ain't doing that. I know about them things. I don't know what they are, but I know every time I go out in that street, I see my brothers and sisters get hit by something.
Wow.
And it doesn't work. See, they know what works and what doesn't.
Wow.
So if you ever driving down the street and there's a squirrel, that squirrel will stop, look, and all of a sudden it'll dart off like I don't know what, because it knows that thing coming toward them ain't going to make them healthy.
I want to say, this is from Brother Leonard in the room. I would vote for you as president. You have so much respect from all of us because of the fact.
Well, it's not me. It's logic, because I had to learn it. You talking about walking around with scratching his head all day. I used to do tons of that.
Wow.
Because, but see, that's the first step. See, when you're scratching your head, that's a question mark happening.
Yes.
You're trying to think, all right? And you're trying to scratch your head, be able to think. It doesn't work. I mean, you got to look at things and study things, cause and effect. That's what you call logic.
Yes.
You look at fire, and and if you don't know what fire is, I mean, just like a baby, you'll walk right up and stick your hand in it. But once that baby sticks his hand in that fire one time, see, the baby uses logic. We are taught not to use logic. Just keep sticking our hand in the fire.
Expecting different results.
Expecting our hand is going to put that fire out. All right? It ain't going to work like that. Not no blazing fire. I mean, a big blazing fire. I mean, hey, I ain't got enough hand for that fire.
You don't. You're
all right.
Shiva of the Hindu with all those hands.
Yeah, and your home is standing around saying, hey, man, you tough, go ahead, and that's another thing, that so-called peer pressure. Don't ever fall for that. That's dumb, all right? And I mean, sometimes your good buddy's trying to get you to do something stupid. You just tell them, like I had to learn to do, and this is why I'm still here. Because if I had gone into what they were trying to get me to do, I wouldn't be here. Okay, that's number one. All right.
Right.
I mean, you got to be able to tell the difference between when they are doing something that makes sense and when they are doing something that's stupid.
Yes. So when someone comes up to you, talk about let's sell some drugs to make some
watch that word "let's" every time. That one word will get you into all kinds of trouble that you will spend a lifetime trying to dig yourself out from under. Let's. Hey man, let's. Wait a minute. Hold it right there with this let's. You just said what? I said let's. Okay, let's do what? See, and right away you start backing off before you go forward.
Hear him, hear the elder, young people. Hear what he's saying. This is truth.
I mean, I know. I've been there, done that. I mean, I've seen where that let's can lead you because I was on my way, you know. But I thought about, hey, when somebody say let's, stop and think about not what you're fixing to do, but what's going to happen after you do it. Right. That's the key. All right. I mean, they come down there. Hey, man, you heard about so and so. You heard about what happened to him. You heard about him. And you look in the car. There's 4 people in that car, and all of them got guns. One of them got a sawed-off shotgun.
No.
And they're telling you, let's. Now that's a signal right there. No, I got something to do, fellas. Yes. And it ain't in this car. Right. You know, I got something else to do, and it ain't in this car. Hey man, I thought you was our homies. No. I still am your homie, and I intend to be your homie today and the day after tomorrow and all like that. But after you come back from whatever it is you're fixing to do, with all them guns in that car, and y'all going to take care of something on the other side of town. No, I ain't in this car. All right.
No.
I will talk to you all when y'all get back from this wonderful thing that you're fixing to do. Because I don't want no parts of this, because this don't look like it's going to end up in anything that's going to make anybody happy, including y'all.
Right. you know, now this is a little bit off cue question, but why is it that every U.S. president goes to Israel and puts a little prayer in the Wailing Wall?
Because we are in a system of white supremacy, and all black people in a system of white supremacy are in prison. So we always do what the warden says. So that's always put that in your mind. We are in a world prison already. What we call prison is just greater confinement. It's like you being in a behind prison walls, and they put you in what they call solitary confinement. See, the boxes keep getting smaller and smaller. Black people are born in a box.
Right.
And we're always heading toward a box. Whether it's a box on a day of a funeral, that's a box. They put you in a box when they get ready to bury you. I mean, before then, they got you in a box called a cell, yes, which is where they want most black people to end up in, and where we willingly let them know that's where we are on our way.
Wow.
All right?
Wow.
See, it ain't no such thing as no smart dude that's in what we call greater confinement, what we call jail, penitentiary. Ain't no such thing as that. See, man, that's a smart dude over there in cell block C. All right? Now, stop and use your logic. No. You know who the smart dude was? The one that put them in there.
Wow.
That's the smart dude. He ain't smart. Ain't a way in the world he's smart, and he's somewhere where he don't want to be. How are you going to be smart and you're where you don't want to be?
Exactly.
That's impossible. That's impossible. You can't call yourself smart when you're in a situation that you don't want to be in. The smart person is, you know, like Steve Jobs. I mean, you know, hey, every situation that he goes into, I mean, other than the one of being dead, he couldn't help that. All right. But every situation up to then was one that worked for him, because he wasn't going to be in no situation that didn't.
He took that first law. He was doing things that was constructive.
Yeah, I hear some black people talking about John Gotti was smart. He walk around in them $3,000 suits and overcoats and whatnot, $10,000 hats and all that. Yeah, all that bling bling, you know, flashing money. Okay, he did that for about 15 minutes.
What?
And then he wound up behind them bars, and that's where he died. And when you behind there, you are where you don't want to be. You ain't wearing no $10,000 overcoat.
Nope.
You wearing a jumpsuit and a number, which is where most black males wind up with their smart selves. All right? No, we're not smart when we wind up ever in handcuffs.
Yes.
Period.
Yes, doctor. Yes. That is the epitome of stupidity.
Anytime you wind up in handcuffs and you didn't plan to be there. Now, Martin Luther King was kind of smart up until the time he got killed. Every time Martin Luther King went out, he said, I know I'm going to get arrested. See what I mean?
Right. He already knew the consequences of
He already knew that. He said, that's a part of what I'm doing. All right? I'm getting arrested so that other black people don't get arrested.
Wow.
Okay? That's what he went for.
That's real sacrifice.
Yeah, see, and he knew that. He knew that before he went. He didn't have to go. All right? But he said, today at noon, I'm going down and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do the other. And they're going to put the handcuffs on me because what I'm going to do is against the law. And I know that when I do it, that's what they're going to do. We do it and think we're going to get away. That's a huge mistake. That's why we fill up all these penitentiaries.
Yes. Both
the white supremacists know every trick there is. Some of the black girls go and do this shoplifting, thinking they invented that. The white supremacists know when you're stealing, even when they let you get away with it. They let you get away with it up to the point where they decide, now I've been underpaying you all the time. So on some day when I want to get rid of you and hire that white girl, all right, I'm going to fire you. And when you say, you can't fire me on account of my record, blah, 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 say, hey, you've been stealing down in a warehouse room for the last 2 years. I know what you stole. I know how stealing is done. I know how to put stuff down there for you to steal so that I can get rid of you when I get ready, nigga, because you don't have a brain.
Because you're dealing with, doctor, a guy that stole the damn continent, not a little package
I'm
of gum.
telling you, they're the greatest thinkers in the world. Now, we try to play with that, but that's true. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in the shape that we're in if they wasn't greater in thinking than we are, because we don't even like to think. That's one thing we don't like to do. We've been trained not to think. We're trained to act. Jump up and down, turn flips, shoot a basketball, all right? Just think about that. We can do that. And we do it very well. And I'm not knocking it. But when it off the basketball court, off the football field, off the stage, when we turning flips and playing the guitar and all like that, we're completely lost.
Yes.
That's when the white supremacist back in the office does all the thinking. And we turn over all the thinking to them. Now, few black people caught on to that, like Magic Johnson and people like that. They say, wait a minute. I got a life. I don't spend my life bouncing a ball all the time.
Yeah.
All right? I ain't no animal. I do some things other than just one thing all the time. All right? Even though, like in Godfather 1, they did what? They called me an animal.
Ooh.
Remember Godfather 1? That guy at the table said, hey, we're not going to sell drugs to our own people. Said, we're not going to have it nowhere near schools. Right. That's an infirmary. You know, that's what gangsters are telling each other, white gangsters. All right? And see, white supremacy is a gangster operation. It runs on gangster principles, but big time gangster. All right? So he says we're going to sell it to the coloreds.
Yes. That's what they did. That's what they did, doctor.
He said we're going to sell it to the coloreds. Said let them lose their souls. They're nothing but animals anyway.
No, we are not. We are beautiful beings. We are the salt.
Well, no, we are actually in the state of mind exactly what they called us because they made us that. See, and that's the first thing. See, the first thing toward not being something that somebody has made you is to start being something else.
Yes.
Which you can do just by doing what? Changing your mind. That's where it all starts.
Yes. Yes.
Just change your mind. Just like I just gave that illustration, don't get in that car. You just change your mind. You don't get in the car. But if you're already in the car, you say, hey, y'all let me out at the corner.
Right. Or else I'm jumping out.
And why? Hey, man, where are you going? I'm going away from what y'all fixing to do. Because what y'all are fixing to do, I have already figured out, ain't going to work.
Right.
Y'all think it's going to work. And it will work, the first part of it. But y'all ain't got a plan for Act 2. See, black people are known to have a good plan for Act 1. Man, we're good at Act 1. That first thing that we're going to do, we are real good at the first thing. But see, there's always, in most movies, they got what you call halftime. Most football games, halftime. In basketball, they got what, halftime?
Yes, sir.
Do they have it all right. They got halftime in a lot of things. Well, see, existence on the planet has a lot to do with halftime. So black people have been trained just to think about halftime.
Right.
So that's why we come in, turning flips and whatnot. Vince Lombardi, who was rated to be one of the, the most famous coaches of all time. Is that correct?
Right. That's correct.
Okay. You know what he said? He said, I don't want nobody coming in here celebrating at halftime. I don't care if we're 200 points ahead. He said, you go out there on that field and play like you're 200 points behind. That way you will always be a winner.
Wow. Yes. He changed the perception.
Yes, that's all he did. He didn't do nothing. Football is football. Well, what's the difference? What's in your mind? That's what's the difference.
Yes.
Yeah, he said, hey, that's celebrating in the end zone. Think about the next play.
Right.
All right? Or you just might drop that ball and lose the Super Bowl. All right? So just because you almost there, almost ain't there.
Right.
There's no substitute for being a winner every time. None. And I'm not going to tolerate. Yeah, that was Vince Lombardi, and I'm not going to accept anything but that.
And you shouldn't, because we got to get out of this mindset, doctor.
Hey, we have been trained to always come in third place or usually no place.
Right. There's a comment in the room. Teach that code. Does that mean something to you, doctor? Teach the code.
That's what I mean by a code. That's why I have named my book that, the compensatory code, counter-racist code. Do the things, or try them, that are in that book. That's what it's about, as a start, okay? Because there's no such thing as a whole code until all problems are solved.
Wow.
Because that one problem that you didn't solve, even though you solved 200 problems, that one problem that you didn't solve is the one that's going to trip you up.
Doctor, please, could you talk to us about when black folks try to come together, oftentimes the business scenario doesn't work out?
Absolutely, because we don't know nothing about business, and it's boring. Let white folks do the business. We just do the lifting and loading. They do the thinking. See, in other words, we are trained not to be thinkers. That's training. We don't even know how we got trained that way because we've been trained that way for generations. So we think that being black means being stupid. Okay?
Man.
Find something stupid to do and then call it black.
That's so diabolical, but that's the way the world is.
That's the way it is, and the whole world looks at us like that. That's why nobody wants to be around us, even other non-white people, Japanese, Chinese. We get mad at them, but they say, what are y'all doing?
Right.
See, if the Japanese or Chinese see you doing something that makes sense, you won't be able to run from them. Because they're going to go toward wherever something makes sense. That's the way they are.
Man.
I was in Japan. They ain't got nothing against you because of your color. They got something against you because of the way you act.
Yes, and that's rightfully so. That's the prejudice.
Yeah.
I always tell my people, prejudice is not wrong. Look, if I go down here in these woods and the mosquitoes tear my ass up, I know not to go down the woods. I do this because I'm prejudiced.
In other words, this whole conversation is about black people have to just make a decision. I ain't doing nothing that doesn't work in a constructive manner for me and for others around me.
Yes.
I ain't gonna be involved in nothing stupid starting with right this minute. I'm not into stupidity anymore. I'm through with stupidity. If you can't tell me a constructive reason for doing what you want me to participate in doing, I ain't gonna be a part of it. It ain't personal, like they say in the mafia. It ain't personal, it's business.
There it is. And we're not at the business, doctor, of self-reliance.
Remember Tom Hagen and Godfather 1? That's why they keep recycling that movie, because these messages are for white people, all right? That's what Godfather keeps coming on for over and over again. That first one was made in 1972.
Wow.
This movie has had a long run, and it will keep running, like Gone with the Wind. They are sending messages to white people. Hey, don't be a nigger. This is the way to do it. You know, we are gangsters and all like that. Yeah, but we are gangsters on a world scale. We don't go to jail, all right? Don Corleone don't go to jail,
No,
all right?
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, see what I mean?
I got a
We don't go to
question
jail.
from
What?
the chat room. Ask Dr.Neely Filler Jr. what he thinks about blacks who who say he's identifies with oppression and victimhood ideology, and a spirit of offense that are teaching to you to be paranoid to identify with the struggle.
Now, who they're saying this about me?
They're asking you. I guess there's people out there saying that you identify with the oppression, quote unquote, white supremacy.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, End of the Frame, even the Corleones. What did they do? What did Don sitting down there talking to Luca Brasi at the beginning of the movie? Luca Brasi is a hitman. All right? He said, Luca, I want you to go over and talk to the Italians. Tell them that you're not happy with the family. And do what? Now, here's the punchline. Luca, I'm sending you over there to do what? To see what you can find out. See to me, information is power.
Yes. So they were spying.
FBI, CIA, this is high-powered stuff. KGB, the Mossad in Israel. This is what? All about one word. Starts with an I. Information. Now, in answer to your question, the people who say, well, Fuller's talking all this stuff, identifying with the white supremacists. Hey, you always study your opponent. Yes. I say this every week. Yes. You can't learn nothing by studying fellow prisoners. I mean, they're prisoners. They're already prisoners. You can't study nothing by studying black people. All you're going to study is just a whole bunch of garbage because that's all we know.
Wow. Because
you study the people that made you into garbage and put you into a garbage pit. Always study your master. The slave that studied his master they would hang him in a minute.
You know it.
Yeah, that slave is always peeping around the corner watching what I'm doing. He's dangerous. Rather than go down there by the riverside and clap his hands and play the banjo with the rest of them niggas, all right? He's always prowling around the big house, watching when I go to town, when I come back, how I go about doing business, what produce I brought back.
Right.
I mean, he's always in there in my room and whatnot when nobody's around, and he's talking to the house niggas and whatnot, and he finds out a way to get up there and look at my books and find out just how many slaves, that he owns on that other plantation down the street and all like that. That is a dangerous nigga. Get rid of him on the next sale.
Wow. That's like the spook that hid behind the door.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. It's called what? They got a name for it. Intelligence.
Yes. Without intelligence, you can't get tactics.
Right.
That is
okay. Okay, I'm going to have to go now because I got something to do, but I hope you got a little something.
Yes, we did, sir. Thank you, doctor. Thank you,
All right.
thank you.
Okay, right.
Thanks. Wow, guys. I wasn't expecting to get the doctor on the show. I've been talking to him for a number of months off air here, but I'm finally able to share some of that with you guys. Dr. Fuller is a brilliant mind, beautiful human being. Guys, the show is getting stronger and it's getting better because of you, Brother Derek, because of you, Brother Chris, because of you, Kim, because of you, Brother Big Pimpin', because of you, Brother Leonard, because of you, all the viewers and TV watchers, people who are commenting and sharing the shows. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Without you guys, the show would be nothing. The show would die. It would be a little sapling trying to grow, but the viewer, the listeners, the sharers of the program, you guys are the sunlight that gives us what we need. Like I said, this is going to be the year we change the perception, and we're going to do it one day at a time. I'm going to wrap up this show, and I'm so thankful to Doctor coming on. I'm so very thankful. And I hope that this show has given you all something to think about. As always, this has been TPIM SR Live. I'm your host, True Powers Mind. Today's date is May 7th, 2019, the year of our Lord. Please live your life with integrity, without hate and envy or greed. And as always, brothers and sisters, let's try to be kinder to one another. Peace.